high school, going to college, no longer playing video games, trying to be more social, talking to people. But now my main obsession and fascination is financial markets and Bitcoin and crypto and the stock market, and learning about all these things and figuring out how can I make money with this thing now. So that became my main thing. Sitting in a finance lecture one day, and then I go to the professor after class. I'm like, hey, really enjoyed the lecture, talking about the Dow Jones, S&P. I'm nerding out on all these things. I just bought a bunch of Tesla stock, Bitcoin. I go out, after class too. I'm like, hey, can you give me advice on what I should do with my portfolio? I own a couple of Bitcoin. I have Tesla stock. Should I buy more of this? Should I sell it? Do you think it's gonna crash? What do you think I should do with this? And he's like, Simon, I can't give you any advice on what to do with your portfolio. I personally don't invest in crypto or the stock market. My wife doesn't let me. She thinks it's gambling. And I was like, wait a second. I'm sitting here in college accumulating $40,000 to $50,000 a year in debt to learn from somebody teaching finance, yet he himself doesn't invest in the stock market or crypto. I get crypto back now. I'm like, okay. But the stock market, he's like, I don't invest in stocks whatsoever. I'm like, you're teaching us about the S&P 500 and how money compounds in the market. You're not a practitioner. I'm like, something's flawed here. I can't be learning from somebody who's not a practitioner, right? From a professor who's never started a business or doesn't practice what he preaches. And that to me was I need to drop out. So I dropped out that afternoon.
Simon Lerner, welcome to the pod, brother.
Thanks, Jonah. Excited to be here.
What stage of life are you in?
What stage of life?
Mentally, physically? Where's your mindset right now?
I'd say definitely a transition period, man. Transitioning out of a phase in both career, personal relationships, business, just mindset. I think we're all wired in different ways. For me personally, what's worked the best is having seasons and sprints.
Yes.
So give you an example. For the beginning of this year, I did 7 months sober. I didn't drink any alcohol. I was more locked in on building. Right now, 2 weeks ago, I just broke the sobriety streak and enjoying a couple of drinks here and there over dinner, going out more, being more social. I typically do maybe 7 to 9 months a year of that strict, wouldn't call it monk mode or whatever people refer to it, but more locked in, and then 2 to 4 months of just
how'd you feel not drinking at all?
I'll be honest, it's my second year doing it, and I haven't felt as many benefits as people rave about, just because alcohol was never something that I struggled with in the first place. It wasn't a vice that I struggled with. And honestly, I was going to keep going until New Year's with being sober, and then my friend called me out. He's like, dude, I think you proved to yourself everything you needed to prove, as in if you can stop drinking.
You talk closer to the mic too.
If you can stop drinking and take a break from it and it doesn't affect you, then you kind of proved everything to yourself. And he's like, you've done 7 months, then is there anything else that you haven't proved to yourself? I'm like, you're kind of right. So let me start enjoying myself a little bit more and being more social. And I think if it's done correctly in the right settings and environments, it can actually benefit you from meeting people out at events. It's the same as people are like, oh, I don't want to smoke. I'm like, oh, I've actually made a couple of 6 and 7 figure deals from smoking a cigar and going out with somebody. So it's there's two sides to the coin,
People say one shot of tequila actually has health benefits. It's antioxidants and it's good for your gut. Cleans out your system. So if you just take one shot of tequila, you're good.
Is that your ritual? Once a week, shot of tequila?
No, it's funny because I actually stopped. So I stopped drinking. And I hadn't taken one sip of alcohol for over a year. I just drank for the first time a couple weeks ago when we were in Mexico. I did do tequila though. But what I noticed was I've never struggled with alcoholism or anything. I did party. I mean, everybody's gone through that party phase. But I noticed, even if I've got a couple of drinks with friends, I'll look at because where I'm on the Whoop, I see you're on the Whoop gang too. Mm-hmm. I'll look at my recovery the next day. My sleep will be worse. My recovery will be worse. And it's nothing crazy, but you feel a little bit more lethargic in the gym. You do this, you do that. And so me and Claudia, we sat down and we're like, we have big goals. We want to build a big business. We want to make a big impact. And the way I analyze my process for every decision I make is this helpful or harmful behavior? And if it's harmful behavior, then it's okay, well, what are the pros and the cons? And there's obviously pros to drinking, like social outings, different things, whatever. But for us, the cons outweigh the pros. So we're like, oh, it's like not a big deal.
And especially since you're objectively evaluating the decisions because you have data to back it. Some people are like, oh, this is bad, but they have no data to like actually prove something is bad. But for you, you have your sleep data, you have your stats, your recovery, your HRV, and everything that the Whoop gives you, and you can like actually objectively evaluate and say, hey, like I have data to support that this is bad, and like that drives your decision making.
Yeah. Some people aren't affected though. Are you affected when you drink the next day? Is your recovery or sleep any different?
I wouldn't say my recovery. I'd say my sleep is actually better. Like I sleep better after I drink, but also like I don't drink a lot. It's like I have a glass or two of wine type of thing, you know.
You know why that is? Because you're Russian. Russians can handle alcohol better than anybody else I've seen.
For me personally, brother, like I had a glass of wine last week, and I felt like drunk off of like one glass of wine.
Really?
Like this is bad. The fact that my like stamina for alcohol just like dropped so low, but also good in a way that just shows that. Again, I haven't drank in a while, so
that's what's up. That's what's up. I did a little bit of research on you before the podcast, and all I know is that you came from Russia as a teenager, came to America, went to New York, somehow found your way in Tampa. So give us a little bit of a backstory.
Sure, brother. I'd say I have a fairly interesting story from maybe a lot of guests that you've had. 25 right now.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Russia. Parents both Russian. My mom lived in America before with her first son from a different marriage, so like my older brother, and then her and my dad actually met in America and then moved back to Russia after the Soviet Union collapsed to like start a business there after they saw all the opportunities in America. Like my dad came in the 90s to America from Russia. Mind you, like he fled the Soviet Union before it collapsed and saw all the things in America that Russia didn't have because Russia was socialist. It didn't have any capitalism or business wasn't like really a thing. And then when he came back, he actually, started a business. And I was born there in 2000 and parents were together until I was 2, then split up when I was 2 years old. My dad started a different family. So from 0 to 2 was living with my dad and my mom in Russia. From 2 to 13 in Russia was living with my mom only. My dad was still kind of present in my life, paying child support and trying to hang out with me on weekends and still like be part of my life. So that was my life in Russia, growing up there. A couple of highlights that I think are important to mention. I think for the way people live in Russia, we were like decently well off, like upper middle class, especially with my dad's business starting to do fairly well. He started a billboard advertising company because in Russia, back in the day, the only like form of advertising would be like you write a handwritten piece of paper, you slap it on the wall at a gas station or somewhere, and that's your advertising. There was nothing else, right? And then he went to America back in the 90s, saw Times Square, and he's like, holy crap, this is like incredible. Like, we don't have anything like that.
We got
he's
something
like,
here.
Let me start something like this back home. And then he started like importing screens and doing these things. And the business was, going fairly well for him back home in Russia for Russian standards, right? He was paying child support to my mom and we're living pretty good to the fact where I was like going to private school for the last like 3 years that I remember living there. First, I was going to like public school while the business was still like, getting off the ground, and then transitioned to private school. And I remember even at one point we had like a maid or somebody like be like with us an entire month. And I was like, oh, this is like pretty cool. You were living in like upper middle class kind of society, but reflecting back on it, that maid and her husband combined their monthly salary was $380 a month, like US. So it's like money went very far, where if your dad's giving you, $2-3 grand a month in child support, you can live off of that and have a great life and go to private school and, have all the luxuries. And then at 13, had a transition where it was just me and my mom. We moved to New York. She had a couple of friends there. That's where she just knew somebody. And the intention behind that from her end was she wanted me to go to college in America, and she wanted me to move there early to start getting like familiar with English, get acclimated, not just like, 18, you graduated high school in Russia, let's move you to America. And it's like a whole new world.
Yeah.
Right?
What were your thoughts when you were first coming to the States? Were you excited? Did you not want to go?
I think in hindsight, looking back at it, I'm so grateful for that decision. In retrospect, like as it was happening, it was like the worst thing because I had to leave all my friends behind, my family behind, my dad stayed behind, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But the biggest transition that happened during that move is just a perspective on the world and how much finances affect families and how the world works differently. Give you an example that I just brought up. Living in Russia, was going to private school, had somebody helping around the house like a maid or like cooking things for the family. And we had that life. And overnight, you went from living in a house and having all these things to now you're renting a apartment and you're taking public transportation to school and you're going to public school because, $3,000 a month in Russia goes a very, very long way. But the same money in America, when you come there, like barely gets you by, especially in New York, right? For a single mom and her kid, which was me. So I think it was a big transition, but also I'm super grateful for the mindset that I had because I think I saw the life I had, growing up in Russia, and I didn't have a lot of like limiting beliefs that certain people have, especially starting a business, where they just haven't seen certain things. And for me, it's like, oh, this lifestyle is possible. I kind of had this growing up. I had a little taste of like what it's like to, live in a upper middle class society, getting by, even though it was in a different country, to now coming to America, having that stripped away from you. If I were to put like an analogy on it, it's like you have a Rolls Royce, but you don't have money to put gas in the Rolls Royce, so you can't drive it. It was kind of like that feeling where, oh, well, at least I know the Rolls Royce exists. Let me work towards that. So I came to America when I was 13. First couple of years were extremely difficult. I don't think I had like a single person I could call like a friend until high school, just because I was like, didn't speak English very well, had an accent, didn't like fit in with cultural like society.
So when you came to America, you learned English the first time?
I'd say I knew basic things to get around. In Russia in schools, English is like a secondary language, but it's no different than you taking Spanish in high school. And like, how much do people remember unless they were like in AP Spanish and like really took it seriously? Like, just enough to like get by and like ask where the bathroom is, but you can't like hold a conversation, talk about intricate things, or understand certain like anecdotes or jokes or like things that hold place in time like in America for a Russian kid. So like, give you an example, I just moved. There was like sports tryouts going on and everything, and kids were like, "Oh, come play football with us," and I come with a soccer ball because like football, I'm like football. I bring the round ball, and everyone's like, "Who's this weird kid?" So like after that, I was like, "F this! I'm just gonna run home and like play video games and like talk to friends that I have online because it was easier for me to make friends online playing video games than in person, and spend time with my mom and do side hustles to make money to help my mom, which was like shoveling snow and doing online projects in Fiverr and pretty much anything and everything I could do to like help support her because I saw she was like in a way struggling. It's like, hey, you have bills here, you tied the bills, and I kind of noticed it. She thought I didn't, but obviously I did. So that was that. So
man, what a powerful perspective, where you saw you growing up in Russia. Obviously, you have a much different perspective, and you see real struggle and real poverty. But then you go from you're living great to, all right, well, now you're in America and you see everybody prospering around you and doing great. But now it almost feels like you're back to poverty. Mm-hmm. What was your mom doing while she was working?
While she was
living in New York, or what was she doing for work?
She had some real estate stuff she was doing. I mean, obviously my dad was still supporting us, and like sending us, $2-3 grand a month of like child support, and then also she had to do things on the side as like a real estate agent and did some things in that realm. But I think what's also important and to highlight now that I reflect on it, that got me like to where I'm at today and my, let's say, relationship with money and finances, and what got me into entrepreneurship was, I think my relationship towards money and how I view finances really changed at 13 when I came to America. And that was because of my underlying relationship with my dad. So what happened is, when I was living in Russia, my dad was in my life. He was, spending weekends with me, hanging out, doing what dads do. And then when I came to America, instantly the relationship changed because my dad stayed in Russia with his other family. And then he pretty much told my mom that, hey, unless he, like, you took my son away, what the fuck? I can't spend time with him anymore. So if you want to get child support, he has to call me every single Sunday. So what happened there then was I felt like we got blackmailed. We were like being held captive and blackmailed for money, where if I don't call my dad every single weekend, we're not going to get child support. So then my relationship with my dad changed from, hey, I just want to call my dad and tell him the good news about what happened in school, to every Sunday morning, it's like, hey, make sure you go call dad, or otherwise we're not going to get money for food and housing this week. So it felt like you have this very transactional relationship and someone's literally holding money over you. And from a young age, I was like, I never want that to happen, to my future family. My mom, I don't want finances to be like a problem for my future family or like anybody that I come in contact with, because to me that was like disgusting behavior, and that drove like a lot of resentment. And I think at 18, when I like started a business, started making money, I had a period of like falling out where I was like, fuck you to my dad. Like, now that I have money, I don't have to like talk to you or have you in my life. I'm like set. I don't have to depend on you. And then went through like a phase of like not talking to him for like 2-3 years, and then made up afterwards, where I kind of understood the importance of like family and relationships. So I think that really drove me towards viewing just finances differently, how it can like cause such a split in a family, right? So,
yeah, and it gives you more of a frugality mindset, where you have true appreciation for the value of money, because at the end of the day, it's like money gives you leverage and money gives you freedom. So if you don't have money, you don't have a lot of freedom, you don't have a lot of options. And I had, not to that degree, but when I was like, we grew up upper middle class, fairly comfortable, and my dad he had money, lived in a nice house. But when I was 17, sent me to boarding school. As soon as I turned 18 on my birthday, he's like, all right, it's time to be on your own. You're a man now. Didn't give me a dime. And I had, was getting a job, working for everything myself, paying for an apartment, paying for all these different things. And I didn't understand why my dad raised me that. Was like, well, you have the finances to help me out financially. It's like, why would you not? I'm so thankful that happened, because that gave me the grit, the work ethic, and everything else I have today. Just knowing that nothing has ever been handed to me, and everything I've done, I've gone out and worked for. It's earned
by hard work, grit, and dedication. And it's so funny because I think for me, for you, and a lot of people maybe even out there in your office, we can relate to the fact that there are some things that seemed so bad at one point, but if you zoom out on a long enough time horizon, now that you've gotten a bigger perspective and you're looking in a rear view mirror, you're like, I'm so grateful that happened. Like for me, coming to America at 13, like when I was 13, it was like the shittiest thing ever. You took my friends away. You took, my dad away from me. How could you do that to me? And now looking back at it, I'm like, I'm so glad I came earlier than coming at 18. I'm sure for you it was also like at 18, oh my God, like how can you not support me and give me money and give me like, put me in a position to struggle? But now, in your 20s, you're looking back and like, I'm so grateful my dad, didn't give me all these things where I was like a spoiled brat. I had to earn it all for myself and to have appreciation for finances and all those things. So it's like something in the moment it was bad, but looking back at it later is good, right?
Yeah, and I really believe everything works out for good. And just think about my life, even with my mom passing away at 14, or like all the stuff I've been through, is I wouldn't change any of it, to be honest with you. Not a single thing. Because there's a verse in the Bible that talks about God's never going to bring you through trials and tribulations that you're not equipped to handle. And it's that saying that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, and pressure's a privilege. And so when you look at it that way, where you look at the people where, in a way, I feel bad for people that never had to struggle, or grew up in a perfect household and never seen anything, because how are they going to have the grit? How are they going to have that drive that allows them to be better? So in a way, having that chip on your shoulder, I see it as a good thing. And it's it gives you the perspective of the world that truly matters. Where I read something a while back that said 70% of millionaires in America are either first or second generation immigrants, which I thought was very interesting, because they realize how good we have it. And the way I see it, it's think about the likelihood of being born in America. It's like, how many people are in the world? How many people are in America? You've 1 in 10,000 chance of being born here. So think about like the likelihood of being born here is so slim and so small. And the fact that we were born in America, we have this opportunity, especially now. Like, it's never been easier to build a business and become a millionaire. It's never been easier to be great, but it's also never been easier to do nothing. But the way I see it is if we don't take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us, it's almost disrespectful to what God has provided and what God has blessed us with.
Absolutely, bro. Totally agree with that.
Yeah. But tell us about, so you came to New York. When did you come to Florida?
Came to Florida beginning of COVID 2020. So kind of to summarize what happened in New York and pick up the story where I left, where, you know, I was kind of not fitting in with American kids in school and society. So I would run back home, spend time on personal development, making money, reading books, playing video games, making friends online. And then I got really fascinated with the video games I was playing. Was like CSGO and Fortnite and like all these things that every kind of teenager plays. But then over time, as I was playing these games, I realized that it was also like a point of conversation in school because other kids in school were also playing these games. That was like my way to kind of try to like connect with them. I'm like, oh, you play these games, like I'll play these games as well. But I realized that these kids, especially from like wealthier families, you know, their parents would like give them money to spend on the video games. You know, like there's FIFA crates where people like can unbox certain things, and there's like character upgrades and skins, like, and all the things that people can like buy. And I realized that kids in my school are spending money on that. And I was like, oh, let me learn about that. Obviously, their parents are giving them money to buy these things. You know, I don't have money to buy these things. You know, what is this all about? So I started diving in and learned that in the video games themselves, there's a whole like online economy where you can like transact with people and do certain things. And I vividly remember it. Like I was playing the game, some dude from California just like adds me as friends, and it's like, hey, you have this like cool skin I wanted. Can I buy it from you for like $85? I was like, how are we gonna do that? I don't know you. He's like, I'll just PayPal you. Like when you get the money, you give me the thing. I was like, okay, like let me go make a PayPal account. Mind you, I'm 15 years old this time. Just like random dude from California just added me and said, let me buy this thing.
Yeah.
So I make a PayPal account. He sends me money. I withdraw it, give him the skin. And I was like, this is really freaking cool. I just made $85 online as a 15-year-old selling something that doesn't exist in a real world, like a digital thing. And I was like, I want to do that. Fuck your summer jobs, hustles. I want to spend my time doing that. So every waking hour and time I dedicated, you know, from whatever free time I had to like learning this and getting all these like online skins and trading with people and communicating and being like, hey, I have this thing, let me trade you for this thing, and then sell it for PayPal money. And I think the limiting belief that for me was broken at early ages, strangers on the internet are willing to hand you money for goods or services or digital products that don't even exist. They don't have to have physical, tangible shape. Because for me, as a kid, it was always like you have to give something a physical good to receive, you know, monetary exchange value. And then at 15, I had this light bulb of like, it doesn't have to be a physical good. It could be something that doesn't even exist. It could be, you know, an online video game item. And then later it became maybe like a PDF or online coaching consulting where like, it doesn't exist in the physical world. It's online videos, right? But you're transacting with people, right? And I think that was a big like limiting belief break for me. So I was doing that, and then
were you killing it, or just like?
I think
it's more of a side hustle.
Like 2.5 years, I made like 15 grand, which is like, you know, from 15 to 17, I made like 15 grand, which is a lot of money for a 17-year-old. But if you zoom out, you know, on today's standards, I'm like 17 grand in 2 years, like isn't going to get you far. Yeah. But for a 17-year-old, like senior in high school, that was cool. But the problem I started running into it as I kept transacting and doing these things is PayPal kept banning my accounts because I wasn't 18. And like you have somebody pay you once, pay you twice, and then they're like, please upload your ID to withdraw your funds. And I had to upload an ID, and they're like, we're actually going to hold your funds until you're 18. You're not of legal age. You know, come back when you're 18 to get your money. And I was like, you know, this is kind of fucked. I'm like, I just gave somebody all my items. They paid me, and I can't have my money for 2 years. Like, how is this supposed to work? Mind you, that's like 2016. And then I started looking into.
Did you get your money back?
When I was 18, yeah. I was like, give me everything, and I'm going to take it. So,
yeah.
But in the meantime, I was like, I need to find a better way to transact with people because I can't do this thing where I withdraw money once or twice, and then for the third time somebody pays me, I can't even access my own money. I was like, how can a company decide that? I get it, that I'm not 18, but I'm ambitious. Like I want to do good. It's not like I'm funneling drugs or doing things. I'm just like selling virtual items and giving it to like, you know, somebody that wants it and actually wants to pay for it. So
yeah.
Then I started looking into like alternative ways to process payments, and I found crypto. So I was like, let me
Ayy.
have somebody like pay me in this Bitcoin thing, which at a time was like, I think $1,800 per coin, which is like when I discovered crypto. And then, mind you, I'm like 17 at a time. And now, instead of people PayPaling me, people are sending me Bitcoin, which is 1,800 bucks a coin at 17 years old for these virtual items that they wanted to buy. And I started, doing that and taking payment that way. Started learning about crypto and the financial markets, and got exposed to different sort of like financial instruments outside of the video game. And so I turned 18 at the time, graduated high school, had to start off going to college, and I was like, okay, like I spent all of my high school and like end of middle school playing these video games, being like this socially awkward kid. I have a chance to have a fresh new beginning. So maybe let's not like play these video games anymore and like actually be social and start making friends. And you have a chance to make a new impression on people. So like you can pivot what you're doing and, have a fresh beginning for you. So I kind of like paused on the video game things, but now my attention pivoted and I got really fascinated with financial markets, because what happened is people paid me for these like skins in Bitcoin. Let's say somebody, I think in like half a year, gave me 3 Bitcoin like that I accumulated, which was like 1,800 bucks a coin. But then I did nothing with them. I held them, half a year went by, and now they're $5,000 a coin. And I'm like, wait a second, there's an economy in and of itself here. And I'd rather do this than do the skin thing, because I just held this thing for 6 months and it tripled in value, and I did absolutely nothing. So let me like put all my attention and effort into like learning about this.
Yeah.
So now I'm transitioning out of high school, going to college, no longer playing video games, trying to be more social, talking to people. But now my main like obsession and fascination is financial markets and Bitcoin and crypto and the stock market, and learning about all these things and figuring out like how can I make money with this thing now. So that became like my main thing. And I'm pretty much diving into more and more personal development, driving to and from business school, to school, listening to business podcasts. For the first 6 months, I went for engineering because that's what my mom wanted me to do. That was supposed to be like a safe job, I think, for a lot of Eastern European, Russian, Indian, Asian like parents. It's like you're either a doctor, engineer, or lawyer, like one of these like careers, or otherwise like you're gonna have problems in the house type of thing. Like you were gonna be a disappointment to your family. So I went for engineering, completely like hated my life. Like as I'm going to school for engineering, I'm pouring every minute that I have of my free time into learning about the stock market business, trading stocks, trading crypto, like trying to like learn these things through YouTube and on my own. And then second semester of freshman year, I switched from engineering to business, because I was like, if I don't like do this, I'm going to kill myself. Like I was miserable doing it, because I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for my mom and my parents.
Yeah.
So I switched to business, and then already trading stocks and the crypto stuff, still continue with that. Not really losing money, starting to get a grasp for it, but not really like making a lot of money. Sitting in a finance lecture one day, and then I go to the professor after class, and I'm like, hey, really enjoyed the lecture, talking about the Dow Jones, S&P. I'm like nerding out on all these things. I just bought a bunch of Tesla stock, I have Bitcoin. Like I go out, like after class too, and I'm like, hey, can you give me advice on what I should do with my portfolio? I own like a couple of Bitcoin, I have Tesla stock. Should I buy more of this? Should I sell it? Do you think it's going to crash? Like, what do you think I should do with this? And he's like, Simon, I can't give you any advice on what to do with your portfolio. I personally don't invest in crypto or the stock market. My wife doesn't let me. She thinks it's gambling. I was like, wait a second. I'm sitting here in college accumulating $40,000 to $50,000 a year in debt to learn from somebody teaching finance, yet he himself doesn't invest in the stock market or crypto. I get crypto back now. Like, okay. But the stock market, he's like, I don't invest in stocks whatsoever. I'm like, you're teaching us about the S&P 500 and how money compounds in the market, you're not a practitioner. I'm like, something's flawed here. Like, I can't be learning from somebody who's not a practitioner, right? From a professor who's never started a business or doesn't practice what he preaches. And that to me was like, I need to like drop out. So like I dropped out that afternoon. I went and I like reflected on it that day. I was like, I'm fed up with this. I'm not going to be accumulating 50 grand a year in debt to learn from this guy who's probably making 50K a year teaching from an outdated textbook and never started a business. So,
at that point, did you have any idea what you wanted to do? Or were you just going for general business?
No, it was general finance that I was going for. I knew like I had entrepreneurship in me. I was sort of entrepreneurial from I guess, observing my dad, like trying to make ends meet from him doing all different types of things, whether like driving a cab, like fixing like plumbing things, and starting the billboard company and growing that, and then, like pretty much observing him, and then doing that through my online endeavors, selling virtual items, shoveling snow, selling, artwork on Fiverr, and like doing all these things. I'd say I'd had entrepreneurship in me, but I didn't know where exactly I wanted to pour in that energy. But I knew that there was all these things that I wanted to learn that weren't taught in school. I'm like social media, drop shipping, e-commerce, trading, real estate, the stock market. Like I wanted to learn all these things. I'm like, these things are not being taught in school. So I dropped out of school, but my mindset was still, hey, education is still really important. You just need to change the source of where you're getting education. And then at that time, I remember like mid 2018, that's when Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez started popping off with ads of like, here in my garage, just bought my new Lamborghini. And that was like everywhere on my feed.
RIP to Ty Lopez.
Well, lasted a while, man. So,
I just got a note. I just saw before this podcast actually on Instagram. He got indicted for I think 197 indictments for a Ponzi scheme.
That's insane.
RIP.
I mean, grateful to him for getting me into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, yeah, but he was one of the most viral people on the internet for a long time. Mm-hmm. One of our media buyers, shout out to MJ, actually, he ran ads for Ty Lopez during that time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So back to the story, I was following these people on social media, and in 2018, 10X GrowCon 3 starts popping up in my feed, this event where Ty Lopez is speaking, Russell Brunson's speaking, like all these people that are going to be teaching these different cool things. 30,000 people, all entrepreneurs. I'm 18. I just dropped out of school, trying to figure out my next move. And I was like, let me go to this conference. So from New York, I go to Miami, my first ever event, 30,000 people, grants, 10X GrowCon 3. And I spent a big chunk of the money that I had saved up from businesses and, trading and, whatnot on the conference and hotel and travel and accommodations. But I go there and I'm like, this is way cooler and better than college. I love these like events. I'm actually learning from millionaires and people who make money. But then I was like, this is better than school, but this like there's still something flawed here, because I went for 3 days and I realized that spent a bunch of money, and then I sat in a seat and people went on stage and gave you general motivational fluff, because there's 30,000 people in a room. They can't go specific and deep because there's Nancy who's 65 and Simon who's 18, and you have to talk to both of them, and you can't give them, they were at a different phase in their life. So the advice and things you talk about have to be very generic and broad. It was like, okay, like that doesn't help me. And then people would go on stage and say, I made $1 million or $1 gazillion doing X, Y, and Z. And if you want to learn how to do the same or work with me on a closer basis, you got to buy my coaching or program or course or whatever. And I was like, well, I just spent money to be here to learn from you. And now you're saying for me to learn from you more, I have to spend more money. I was like, this is kind of fucked. Like, I'm not going to spend more, like 10 grand more to just get access to you. It's like, I wish I could just go up to Grant and sit down one-on-one and be like, here's what I'm like doing. Here's what I'm investing in. Like, give me a custom blueprint to me that's going to like work for me, because everybody has a different, scenario that they're working with. And I didn't get that. Not only that, but all the people I was meeting, it was like so transactional, where like 2 days after the event, I got home, I had a stack this thick of business cards, and I picked up a business card. I'm like, I have no clue who this person is. Like Jono Lewis, like with no face, just a name, and says, Prosper Financial or Pinnacle. Like, who is this guy? Like,
what is it? What do they even do?
Why should this matter to me? And I had a bunch of these business cards, out of which I didn't remember a single person. I was like, there's something wrong with this. Like, why do I have this? I was like, college was not it. This event is better. Get me some like ideas and inspiration. This is not it. I was like, I'm sure there's people that relate and can resonate with this. Let me start my own like event or thing where I can learn all the skills that I want to learn in a format that I want to learn, because I think there's other people that resonate with the same thing. And then after that conference, I started a company called NetCon. That was my first business, which was a networking conference that I wanted to do. And I like based it off of me going to 10X GrowCon. And I was like, let me make a pros and cons sheet of all the things that I enjoyed at this event at 10X GrowCon, because like this is way better than college. I want to learn this way. But I'm like, let me kind of like make a few adjustments and learn in a way that I want to learn, which to me was, okay, I want to be around like-minded people in a conference style setting this way, but what changes do I want to make? Well, number one is I don't want anybody who's speaking to like be transactional or sell stuff. So like we said, nobody's going to be allowed to sell anything from stage. That was like a big thing for me. Number two was like, I want it to be implementation based, not motivation based, like practical skills and practical things that you can like run with and implement, not just motivational fluff of, rah rah roo roo, like yell affirmations in the mirror and like make a vision board type of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So then from a couple of people I connected with at 10X GrowthCon, one of them was like an MC for a bunch of events. I shared the vision with him. His name was Fernando Valencia, a good friend of mine. And then he introduced me to a bunch of like other speakers that I then like recruited and said like, hey, come speak in my event. I have this vision. I want to host like a conference for entrepreneurs and, you know, do this like sort of a event. And a lot of them had buy-in because Fernando like vouched for me. He's like, I met this ambitious 18-year-old kid at 10X GrowthCon. He has this like great vision, come support him. So a lot of it was like stacked goodwill from, you know, somebody else. And I hosted my first event like 3 months later. Obviously, there's a lot more details that go into it. So I hosted my first event, had 100 people that bought tickets to, you know, to the event. And we had an awesome beginning to it, I think, what led me now down to the path of like starting Tampa Entrepreneurs and hosting more events. So that was April of 2019 that I hosted my first event. Had, I think, 12 speakers, you know, Dan Fleischman, Casey Adams, Jason Capital, like a bunch of like bigger names. But the cool thing about this was, again, it was like so implementation based where Justin Wold goes to talk about e-commerce and you have not just some like transactional motivational sales fest, but now you have a room of like, you know, 20 people that are only interested in e-commerce and everybody has their laptop out and he goes around and like looks at everyone's laptop and says, hey, like click this button, click this, like change this to your ad campaign, change this on your Shopify dashboard and you're going to see results. It was like this type of implementation, not just
real
like,
value applied, real tactical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the whole premise of that. And then I had a lot of good feedback from it. People were like, we love this. We resonate with this. Like, where was this? Like, this is so much better than college. I was like, let me run with this. And pretty much all the time that I was spending at 19 and 20 was hosting these events in person and trading and continuing to like learn about trading on my own. And, you know, profits from trading started funding the events and then the events started being profitable on their own and self-sustaining, and did that and hosted events in New York, Hamptons, Miami, Los Angeles, mind you, all like before I turned 20. So
wow.
that was the beginning of like my entrepreneurship journey and learning how to like connect with people, network, like learning all of these skills that I thought were like valuable, not only like trading or real estate, but it was like social media. How do you build rapport? How do you build relationships, sales, marketing, drop shipping, all the skills where I think like you can take pieces of and nuggets from every little place and put them into like whatever it is that you're building. So,
man, I want to put a pin in the stock market and crypto conversation because I'm a nerd when it comes to the stock market and crypto. And I love talking about investing, but I'm fascinated by I want to dive deeper into your vision for Tampa Entrepreneurs, your values. But as you're talking, I'm just sitting here thinking and listening to what you're saying is like, did that put a chip on your shoulder?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Siri doesn't get it.
Siri is not.
Siri will be there one day. But did that put a chip on your shoulder of like being that kid, doesn't know English, felt like an outcast, don't fit in with these people, to being the mastermind behind these networking events and these social events that's connecting thousands of people together?
When you say it put a chip on my shoulder, what exactly do you like mean by that?
I mean, like, did you have something to either prove to yourself or other people like, hey, I can do this?
I think it wasn't like this. There's definitely things I did to like prove things, but those were short lived because then I had a lot of reflecting moments, and I'm like, people really don't care about anybody else but themselves for the most part. It's like nobody cares as much as you think they do. So it's like, if you're gonna do it for yourself. But I think it was more so like you fill your needs and cravings in a way where, as a kid from like 13 to 18, I really craved social connection, which I didn't have. And for me, NetCon and then Tampa Entrepreneurs became that social outlet of like, hey, now I am around people who get me, who understand me, who are also maybe going through a phase where they feel like they have this like crazy vision for what they want to build, or they want to conform to society of like, you know, you go to school, you get married, you get a job for 40 years, you're 65, you retire, you get a pension, and then you die, and that's your life. Like, there's probably a bunch of people that feel the same way. And, you know, in high school, I didn't resonate, like nobody resonated with me because either they came from, you know, rich family, they were set, or, you know, they were being pushed to just be workers in society and keeping the wheels going for how the system works. But through building these communities, I think I started attracting to people that I really like craved to like attract and be around. And to me, that was like the best thing ever. And that's why I continue like running Tampa Entrepreneurs and doing it, because I get to be around people who think the same way, have the same ambition, have the same goals, and like also maybe at a phase felt like I'm an outcast, like I don't have friends, I don't have like nobody gets my vision. But I think we've built a community where everybody comes and can feel at home in a way. Yeah.
What are your values for Tampa Entrepreneurs?
Oh man, there's a lot of
what are the non-negotiables?
I think a lot of those stem from like personal values. I can't speak for my co-founders, their personal values I can't speak on, although I think for us to be in business together, we have a lot of overlaps in values as well. But for me, integrity-based human relationships is super important, where
yes,
our relationships need to be built on transparency, trust, and integrity. And I want to make sure that I'm doing business and being around honest people, and that will tell the truth even if it hurts, even if it's uncomfortable. It's like building relationships on integrity and trust. That's super important for me. I think that's at a foundation of everything, especially since we're in such a relational business, like relationship driven economy. I think with the day and age that we're in right now, we're kind of in a trust recession where everybody's so skeptical about like everything that goes on, that trust is like the one thing that people lack.
So
even
important.
like the Tai Lopez thing online, right? Everybody like,
you want to talk you gotta talk a little bit closer to the mic.
Sure.
Yeah. Make sure it's picking up the audio.
Is everything good with the audio?
Yeah,
Picking it up?
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure it's coming through good. I would say we're in a trust recession right now where everybody's making content, everybody's running ads, and it's so hard for people to decide for who's like the real deal and who's just an influencer with like, an ulterior motive. And even somebody who's, as we were saying, like as well-spoken as Tai Lopez gets charged with hundreds of indictments of like Ponzi schemes and funneling money, and had an ulterior motive all this time, right? So it's like, for us, it's really important to like showcase that we're here for the people. We're not here to like extract more value than we give. We're here to serve people. And I think servitude comes as also a foundation. Like we're here to serve other people and act as a vessel to provide people value.
Well said. And people are getting wiser in today's day and age. People are a lot wiser and
People's
a lot smarter.
BS meter has been trained, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think it's something that's inherently ingrained in us, because that's how we survived back in the day for thousands of years. Where it's something that's just so deep in us, it's subconscious, where you'll have a conversation with somebody and you just know. Like you just know if somebody's full of shit or not. And it's like I'll be talking, I'm not gonna say his name, but like I was having a conversation with the guy the other day, and me and one of my partners, he was like, I don't trust that guy. And it wasn't anything he said. It was like just something was off, and you just know. And that's so important. I'm reading the book right now, Principles by Ray Dalio.
Awesome book.
And in that book, he talks about he said, if I had to choose between a large sum of money or relationships, I would choose the relationship, because no amount of money is more valuable. And if I had that money, there's nothing I can buy that's more valuable than a meaningful relationship. So treating people right, and it takes so long to build a good reputation. It takes years and years and years and years, and then it can all be tarnished like that within minutes, just like the Tai Lopez situation, if you do the wrong thing. So yeah, acting out of integrity and treating people right is just reminded time and time again that that's the most important.
And it becomes harder and harder the bigger you grow, because now it's not all up to you, because let's say I myself can control like what I say, what I do, but now there's extensions of my brand and people that now represent me, let's say employees, partners, staff, that now like it's really important to curate that circle, because now those people become an extension of your brand. And if like they are what people associate you with. So you have to be very careful, like who is in your circle, how people talk about you, your company, and how they portray themselves. Like if you hired somebody in your company or had a partner, and then that partner took advantage of somebody who attended your event or scammed somebody, now that reflects back on you, right? So like,
or even people you're associated with.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be people in your company. Yeah. So That's important.
Yeah, like I learned that the hard way, and mind you, like I think my intentions are pure, but we all make mistakes. I think at my like third event or something, I was on a panel. Actually, no, I was speaking at an event in Puerto Rico, and I had somebody, like it was to me embarrassing, but also a big learning lesson. I was 19 at the time, and I had somebody. Um, I was on a panel with like 3 or 4 other individuals. One who's my co-founder right now in Tampa Entrepreneurs, Joe. Um, this guy who apparently attended one of my events, he was in the crowd and he's like, "Hey, I have a question for you. Like, I went to your event and there was a speaker in e-commerce, and like I started following him on social media, and 3 months later, I got his coaching program or whatever, and he scammed me." And I'm there like on a panel in front of like 150 people, and like that feeling was like, damn, like that's a twist in your gut where it's like, how do you come back from that? So to me, that was a big like learning lesson in terms of like you need to like vet people. You need to be very selective of like who you surround yourself with, and like because at the end of the day, it's like your reputation can be ruined by your association, who you have in your circle as well, not just by the things you say or do. It's not just all up to you. It's certain things that are out of your control, and like you need to try to control to the best of your ability things that may be like out of your control, as in like extensions of you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What do you have partnerships not only with Tampa Entrepreneurs, but a few other businesses that you're involved in. And as we both know, partnerships can either be really good or they can be a little messy, because you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with relationships, and people sometimes have mixed opinions or this or that. So what would you say has allowed you to have successful partnerships? And more importantly, what do you look for when you're looking to partner with somebody?
Let's start with what I look for. I think I look for somebody who has complementary skill sets to me, not the same thing. Like if there's two identical people who have the same skill sets, values, understandings, and principles and things that they are excelling at, like it can be a partnership, but it's not going to be a fruitful partnership because you both are bringing the same thing to the table. For all of my partnerships, I think we all have complementary skills where if somebody's good at marketing and leadership, somebody else handles sales or is good at fulfillment. Somebody like, for example, in my role in Tampa Entrepreneurs, I'm more of a back of house role and I handle operations and fulfillment, whereas Joe is more, front of house and handles more of like, front end, speaking at events, marketing and representing the brand. And we're both okay with that, being our roles. Whereas like in my other companies, it's the other way around. Like I act more as a visionary CEO because like I understand, let's say, the subject of real estate. So an STR navigator with my partner, Jack, he's actually the one handling fulfillment and coaching and working with students. And I'm more the visionary marketing and sales person in the company. So I think it's kind of like knowing your place and also being okay with maybe not getting all the flowers, all the recognition, all the like fame, and like having clear communication with your partners of like, here's what you're handling, here's what I'm handling. Like, and I think there always needs to be like somebody who's front of house and somebody who's back of house in like partnerships. That's number one.
Staying in your sandboxes.
Yeah. And clearly defining what those sandboxes are, because there's like going to be, if you don't define those, it's very easy for people to be like, oh, I want to be doing this. I want to be doing this. Why am I not in the videos? Why am I not in the promos? And that's something I think we had to like learn as we go and build businesses. Like to us, clarity came from making progress. And it wasn't like, hey, we knew this going into it. But I think those are some things that I learned from being in business and partnerships. The hardest thing for me in partnerships with my business partners is the fact that like I care about them so much and they're dear friends even outside of business. It's not just like a transactional relationship of like, hey, we're building this business together and then we go home and we have our separate friends, separate families. Like those guys are my family,
Yes.
So it's being able to separate business and personal relationships. And like, let's say we have a crappy day at work or somebody messed up, or even like my partner messes up, and being able to flip a switch and go into a lunch or a dinner 2 hours later after that and completely put that to the side and still have conversations and have love and compassion for the person regardless of what happened at work. That's like the hardest thing of like working with people you really truly care about as friends and consider family, even like outside of business.
Yeah. Man, I have the same philosophy where I was told a few years ago by a mentor. He said, we're in the life insurance business, and I was like, like who should I hire? What are the values I should look for, and everything else. And like I could talk for 30 minutes on the fundamentals and like who to look for, who's a good qualification. But like he summarized it very simply. He said, if you wouldn't hang out with them on a Friday night, don't hire them.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart. I'm like, damn, that makes a lot of sense, because at this stage of the life where me and Claudia are at, and it sounds like very similar to you, is like, if you're going to build a business, you might as well build a business with the people you genuinely enjoy being around, because we spend more time with the people that we're in business with than our own family, which is the stage of life we're in. So I took that philosophy and I ran with it. And so everybody that we hire and bring into our organization, it's not just, we don't just work together. It's we are family. Like, we celebrated Thanksgivings together, and we hang out together on Friday nights and everything else. And that's a wonderful thing. But then you're dealing with relationships and managing emotions, and it's one of those things where you've probably had this. I've had this, where it's like, oh, Jonah, it's just business. Well, it's like, yeah, dog, it is business, but we're also building a personal relationship with that. So it's more than just business, is really what it is. But that's where I see the most fruitful relationships come from.
I would totally agree with you on that. It's I don't think it's a problem to be solved. It's like a dichotomy to be managed. It's like learning to manage it better and becoming a better leader and communicator, and doing all those things that you can, opposed to just like not having it.
Yeah. But for me, fundamentally, what I look for whenever I'm looking to partner or be in business with somebody is I have three meters that I gauge. The meters that I gauge is, how competent is this person? How smart are they? What is this person's work ethic? How hard of a worker are they? But then most importantly is, what is this person's level of character and integrity? And so we were talking about that before, but that's my non-negotiables, where they have to possess all 3 out of the 3. Because it's very easy to find somebody where they might work really hard and they might be really sharp, but you can't fully trust them. Or like, they might be a really good human being, but they just don't have the work ethic, or they don't have the grit it takes. So when you find somebody that possesses 3 out of the 3, that's somebody you can scale up the moon with. And that's really what I look for. But I want to transition this to, we're both investors. We're both fascinated by the stock market, crypto investing. Are you a buy and hold guy? Do you day trade?
So day trading is what I guess led me to, and gave me the avenue to get into other businesses. And during COVID, built a big online community for day traders, kind of to pivot back into it. So I was hosting these events from 18 to 20 host events in New York, LA, Miami, Hampton, so on and so forth. And then COVID hit, and I was planning another big, NetCon conference in Miami, and COVID hit, said you can't travel, you can't have any events. And I was like, where do I pivot? Like, what do I do? Because I still want to bring people together and connect and like have these events. And then I launched something called a NetCon Mastermind, which essentially was the same style type of like events we're doing, but instead of doing them in person on a, couple of months apart basis, it was online through a Discord community where every single week we'd bring in a guest speaker and have hundreds of people show up to ask their questions and be part of like our mastermind call, where, Damnflation would come and talk about building a social media personal brand. Somebody would come and talk about the current economy with the stock market and how to analyze charts and so on and so forth. And somebody would come and talk about how to build your credit. And like, I was learning all these things, but I developed the skill of becoming a facilitator and connecting people. That's where I think I really excelled at that. And I became like the vessel to middleman, somebody who had something to give and somebody who wanted to receive that. So there's, thousands of people who wanted to receive information and be part of the community. There was people who had knowledge and information that they wanted to share. And I kind of became, built a platform in the middle to middleman that. And we launched an NetCon Mastermind. It became a monthly subscription kind of service during COVID, and that was doing very well. And we had, coaches and speakers in each department. I actually myself started leading the trading, like education side of NetCon Mastermind. So that's kind of what we had in terms of the business model during COVID, where we pivoted from the live events. And then I moved down to Tampa, like still beginning of COVID 2020, because I dropped out of school, had nothing else to do in New York. Weather was shitty. I had to have a vaccine passport to go to Chipotle and hit the gym. I was like, I'm not about that. Nope. Don't want to pay the New York tax. And
I was living in Chicago at the time, so very similar. I remember we got fake vaccine cards because they wouldn't let us in anywhere. And I remember dude, Those are wild times. Like, we're gonna tell our kids about that. Have you ever thought about just how crazy that was? They shut the
insane.
entire world down. I remember living in Chicago, like same as New York. Like, if you went anywhere without a mask, like I would go in the elevator without a mask, and everybody would be like against the wall, like, oh no, like he doesn't have a mask on. Even though we both know there's no scientific evidence that you transmit less germs. But anyway, it's funny. I remember I walked into a grocery store. And I was that dude that was petty. Like, I would always walk into stores without a mask intentionally. And I remember this one, like I walked into the grocery store, and it's just a matter of time for somebody, like one of the security guys or whatever, runs up to you like really nervous, like, sir, you got to have a mask. I'm like, sorry, I don't have a mask. He's like, well, you can't be in here without a mask. I'm like, I'm just here to shop. I'm just here to get my groceries. Like, do you have a mask I can wear? He's like, yeah, let me get you one. He runs back and then runs back over. He puts on a mask. I'm like, all right, thank you. Like, I would always refuse to wear a mask.
I thought he was going to like have a heart attack in the middle of running to get your mask. That would have been a plot twist. But actually, for me, that would actually be like in times like that, towards like hiring and back to your criteria, I would add the fourth one of like somebody who is like not conforming to rules or willing to push boundaries or question things and has critical thinking skills. Like if I were to like be in a hiring pool right now, and let's say we're in COVID, I'd be looking at people who are like intentionally bending the rules a little bit and like, oh, this guy's not wearing a mask, everyone's wearing a mask. Like, let me go talk to him. Like, what's your thought process behind this? Like, why do you believe that? Because to me, that shows that, hey, number one, like you're not afraid of like, to like push boundaries a little bit. You have critical thinking skills. You're okay to be different. You're not just like, taking everything that people are telling you as truth, and you have a filter of some sort. So those are the type of people to me that I'd be like interested and fascinated by to like, get to know, or like maybe bring into like my organization, because that shows to me that, again, like you have your own head on your shoulders, and you're not just taking everything that society pushes you as truth. So
you have critical thinking skills. Exactly. Look at the guy that started Lime Scooters. He didn't ask anybody for permission. He just put a bunch of scooters all over town and built $1 billion business. So that's really what entrepreneurship is not being afraid to push boundaries and critically think. Talk to us about actually, let me ask you, what's the most amount of money you've made on a single trade?
You're asking me as I'm down 140 grand on a trade right now as we speak. That's fluctuating.
Or what's the most money you've lost?
The most amount of money I've lost. Here's the funny thing is, like, I remember all the losses because they're like so painful, but my wins, it's like I don't remember like my big wins, because it's just like, oh, it's a good thing. I think people are so much more motivated by avoiding pain than gaining pleasure.
Yes.
And to me, it's like, oh, I remember how much it sucked to lose $1.6 million, in the markets.
You lost 1.6?
1.6, it wasn't on a trade, but it was in 2021. I had a bunch of crypto on Voyager that just like went down through like that FTX scandal, and just
you were in the FTX?
I wasn't in an FTX, it was a platform called Voyager. Fuck you, Voyager.
Yeah.
Where overnight, pretty much, they're like, hey, we actually lent all of your like crypto and stuff to FTX and all these brokers. They can't pay us back, so we can't give you guys your money back. And had like 1.6 million just like wiped overnight from your portfolio.
Dang. Do you ever get it back?
Not only did I not get any of it back, I also got sued by them afterwards, because I had like withdrawn like some money before that, because I had maybe like 2.2 million and I took like 600K out. And then I lost 1.6 million. And then afterwards they sued me for the 600K of my own money that I took out. And like I had to pay another like 200K in fines because of like how the US bankruptcy code works. Apparently, they're like, if you had more than 400K in a platform and you like withdrew that money, even though it's your money, you withdrew it to your own wallet, you took your own possessions off the platform, they're like, you essentially, they try to paint you as the villain, saying that, hey, you and people like you who withdrew large amounts of money months leading up to the collapse of the platform actually caused the bank run because you were withdrawing liquidity that prevented like everybody else from taking their money. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So it was like a big legal thing. So
did you countersue them back?
I had a lawyer represent me. I mean, didn't give him 600 grand and gave him 200 grand, saved me 400 grand. But again, that was a shitty thing. That definitely taught me a lot of lessons, and is like a big like pain thing of like, I don't want to experience that again. So let's not do that.
Is all your crypto in cold storage now?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Unless I'm like day trading or have like open positions, then I have crypto and cold storage. So
Yeah. So do you buy and hold and day trade as well?
I'd say more swing trading right now. Back when I had that wasn't involved in so many like intraday businesses, because right now you got to think like I have my real estate development projects, I have my Airbnb projects that I have a team that I have to train and lead to manage properties and provide a hospitality business. I have the coaching business for short-term rentals where we help others start, scale, and automate short-term rentals through both Airbnb arbitrage and development and purchasing. I have Tampa Entrepreneurs. I have like a lot of businesses that I'm involved in, which doesn't really give me bandwidth on a daily basis to look at a chart, like actually do the charting work, reflect on a journal, and like do things if I was like taking day trading seriously as a business. And the thing is, I think day trading, if you want to do well with it, you need to treat it as a business. And what do people do in a business? They know their stats, they know their P&Ls, they have a data log, they have like certain things that they pay attention to. Like say you have a pizza shop, you know how many pizzas you sold at what price, like where you have extra inventory, you have all these data and metrics. And I'm big on that. And I think that's what's kind of helped me succeed in it when I was like obviously taking day trading more seriously, but I don't have the bandwidth right now to take it that seriously. So I'm swing trading, which is like, hey, I'm holding positions for maybe a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month and a half, but I'm going in with way more size. So instead of like taking 2-3 trades a day, I might take 2 trades in an entire month. But instead of going to smaller positions with like 10 grand here, 20 grand here, I'm putting, 500 grand or $1 million into a position and, making 20% on that position that in a month or two, versus me having to take, 30, 40 trades throughout a month and making 2 grand here, 5 grand here, $2,500 here, so on and so forth. So it's just like a different approach.
You take $1 million positions?
Yeah.
Big ballin'.
I mean, the position I'm down 140 grand on right now is like a $1.2 million position. So
yeah. What did you learn from losing 1.6 mil? It's got to sting a little bit.
Definitely stings a little bit. Well, first learn that it's a tax write-off. You can offset your other income with.
Look at the positive
with that, right? I think it's there was no such thing as a free lunch, because the thing that was so like appealing about Voyager and like FTX and all these platforms, like, hey, you have this crypto that's sitting there in cold storage doing nothing. Why don't you have it here earning like 8 to 9% interest? I'm like, on 1.6 million, I could earn 150 grand a year doing nothing, just owning this crypto. Like, this sounds awesome. So number one is like, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. And number two is like, there's no such thing as free lunch. Like, nobody is giving out 9% interest, on things. Otherwise, people would just, who have $1 trillion will put $1 trillion in there, right? Like, hedge funds try to make their clients 9% a year doing some active trading and like constantly participating in the markets, not just like sitting passively, right? So I think it's that just being really in control of you being the sole decision maker behind what happens to your funds. Like, if I know that I'm in a position where I give somebody a loan, like I made that conscious decision, not letting somebody else be a decision maker. Because when you place it into a third party platform like a Voyager, FTX, or whatever, it's like, hey, you're entrusting us to make these decisions on your behalf. So I'm like, I'd rather, be educated and make decisions on my own of where that capital is allocated than let somebody else allocate the capital. Because nobody is going to be as diligent or care about my own money as me, right? If I give Joe Schmo $1 million, he's like, oh, it's not my own money. If I lose it, I can default on it or whatever. He's not going to treat it with as much respect and diligence as I would my own hard-earned $1 million if I know, like, hey, I put blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice to make this money over here. So that's the lesson that I kind of took away from that. And then
what are your thoughts on crypto staking? Do you stake any of your crypto?
No, for me, I just invest in a big 3, Bitcoin, Ethereum, some layer 2s, and then just buy and hold consistently over time.
Any XRP?
No, XRP. I'm actually short in XRP. So
really,
yeah,
interesting.
Like $2.80. So
we'll have to talk about that after this.
Yeah, we will.
You're also a real estate investor.
Yeah.
How if you're comfortable sharing, how big is your real estate portfolio?
Real estate portfolio right now, 13 properties, but I have a lot of equity. I don't have like a lot of leverage on some properties. Some properties I own like completely cash. To me, it's a vehicle for long-term generational wealth, something to like pass down to your kids. Also, a way to cut down on your taxes. But
Yes.
in some ways, I also want to set myself up bulletproof from failure. Give you an example, like my personal things, I don't like to have leverage or any debt on, even though it's like maybe not the smartest thing. People are gonna be like, oh, you can pull out money and use it to grow it even faster somewhere else. But I'm like, at this point in my life, my peace of mind like is worth more to me than making an extra 50 grand on an investment. Like, so like my personal home, I own cash fully outright. Like nobody can take that away from me. My cars, like all my personal things, like I don't have any like debt on whatsoever, where I can like sleep easy at night. I know like tomorrow, regardless of what happens in the economy, like what happens with my businesses, like if I can't work another day tomorrow, like for whatever reason, like at least I have all my cars, my home, and like all my personal belongings paid off to where like nobody can take it from me. Everything else, cool. I can like take leverage, play with the market's money, but like things that are mine, like are going to be mine. It's not going to be because people are like, oh, I own a home. Well, it's like, no, the bank owns 85% of your home. You put 10% down, you pay down, 5% through 3 to 4 years of owning the home. And I own a home. I'm like, no, you don't.
And you're
It's
basically only paying interest for the first 15 years on your house.
You've seen that meme on Instagram or Facebook where it's like a big, like giant mine and a truck pulls up and like dumps a little bit of dirt into it. And it's like what it feels like to make your first mortgage payment. And it's like a giant crater and it's like a big, like massive truck, but it looks like, a penny in a bucket. So
I haven't seen that, but that's accurate. That's accurate. Well, I think that, let me ask you this, Simon, because being in the financial services industry, this is the industry that it is the flashiest industry, probably the flashiest industry out there that I've seen. And we preach financial literacy a lot with our agents, our team, because it's like, dude, it doesn't matter if you're making 100 grand a year or $1 million a year. If you spend it all, you're still broke. And a lot of people that I've seen come into this industry, they're making a lot of money, but they have a broke mindset. And one thing that's not taught in schools is financial literacy. So what financial advice would you have for people watching this where they're smart with their money? Where should they put their money when they first start making money? And then what point do they need to get to where they can start buying the nice things? Because like, been to your home, you've got a beautiful house, you had a McLaren, you got multiple cars, like you pulled up in your AMG today. So you're living a great lifestyle, but you're doing it in a way where you're still financially smart and financially literate.
That's a loaded question. I think I want to give practical and specific like advice, but it's really going to matter on where somebody is in like their career. It's going to differ from somebody who's making, 3 to 5 grand a month and just started making money versus somebody who's been making 20 grand a month for the last 2-3 years. So it's going to be obviously a little different. I'm just going to share things that worked for me. So everybody who's watching, can reflect and apply what sticks with them. Yeah. Like those are the principles that have kind of led me to where I'm at today. So for me, a big decision that I think served me well was buying my first home at the age of 20, where I was making a lot of money. But I was still renting. I was like paying $4 grand a month in rent. And I was like, let me buy my first home and just pay the same, $4 grand a month. It was actually like $3,200 in a mortgage. But now I'm putting money in my future pocket because over time, that property is going to be paid off. And now instead of paying down your landlord's mortgage, you're paying down your own. So I bought my first property, had a $3,200 a month mortgage. But then I also it was a 4-bedroom new construction home. So I got 2 roommates that were also entrepreneurs, motivated me, hustle with me, and they were paying, $1,500 to $2 grand a month in rent. So I was pretty much owning a home for free. And with that, I also got to depreciate the property over 27.5 years because I was renting out part of it, got to get tax deductions, got to use the Augusta rule, which simply, if you own a primary residence, you can rent it out to your business tax-free for 14 days out of the year and just wire money to your business tax-free. So that gained me a lot of like tax loopholes, and also, again, that peace of mind and safety of like, hey, I'm one step closer to like being an actual like homeowner and not just like leasing my lifestyle. The problem I have, I think, with American society in general is like nothing's about ownership. Everything's about like making it seem like you own nice things, but in reality, again, you don't own them. Like people have like nice cars and McLarens and like all these things, but again, like you're paying $5 grand a month for it, so you were just renting it, or like renting it to own it and paying a crap load of interest. It's like I don't really consider ownership something unless you own 100% of it. It's like
Yeah.
you need to change the mindset around that. So the whole goal should be like ownership of assets, not leasing of assets or like paying a lot of interest to like have somebody else technically be able to like take it away from you. So
Yes.
um, I'd say switching your mindset on that. Then I think just a mental shift of like you have nothing to prove to anybody else other than yourself, and buying things like that you like truly because you like them, not because of what you think people are going to think about you. Because at the end of the day, again, like nobody looks at you or cares as much as you think they do. Like
Exactly.
and I think with age and having more perspective, I learn about that more and more and more. It's like you think they care, but like they don't. People are so absorbed in their own like problems and live in their own like headspace world that they don't even have time to like look your way. You know,
When you see a nice car driving down the street, and when you're driving that car, you think, oh, these people must be looking at me. But no, dude, they don't even know they don't care about you.
Mhm.
They don't look at you. They don't care about you. They think, oh, everybody's looking at me. But what they're looking at is they're envisioning themselves driving that car.
Mhm.
They're thinking of themselves. And like you said, people don't care as much as you think they do. It's like, dude, whether you're pulling up in a Camry or a McLaren, it's like a car is a car. I could have bought my McLaren cash years ago, but I delayed the gratification because I remember thinking is like, can I just delay it one more year? Or can I delay it a little bit longer? Can I delay it a little bit longer? And when you finally make that big purchase, not only is it so much more sweet, but I never want to purchase anything and regret it afterwards. Or I never want to be a slave to work like, oh, I have to work to be able to pay for this lifestyle. And I see so many people put themselves in that trap.
Yeah. For me, I think also what like serves me well is I kind of use, whether it's watches or cars or certain like nice, like, I don't know, trips, vacations, like milestones and goals. Cause I got caught in a trap, I think maybe like 20, where I just like bought a car, but I just bought it because I could buy it, not because I like accomplished something or like hit one of my goals. And then I got like thrown into like this very burnt out phase, like demotivated. And I was like, why is that? Why am I here? It's because I like rewired my brain for getting things. And I think just because you can buy something doesn't mean you should. To me, like I celebrate my wins and like certain milestones with like quote unquote trophies. Cause you got to think about it. It's like in sports, runners get, trophies and medals and all those things. Like what are your trophies in business? For me, my car, my house, my watch, like all those type of like materialistic things are in a way like a trophy for business. So, when I hit a financial milestone or a business milestone, I make sure to reward myself, but it's also very important to not like rewire your like brain chemistry of like, oh, I just woke up on a random Tuesday. I want to go buy this Lamborghini. I haven't accomplished anything else for hitting goals. I'm just going to go buy it because I can, but because then it like disconnects it from you having to do well or push the milestone or hit a certain goal to get that. Again, that's just like how my brain's wired. It's like I view things as like trophies in business. So
Yeah. And that's really all it is at the end of the day. It's just trophies and a scoreboard. Because one day they're just gonna end up in a junkyard. Things are just things. But if you can appreciate them, like, and use them as a celebration, that's one thing I've been guilty of that I've done a bad job at, is just smelling the flowers along the way. Like I'll hit a goal and then I'll be like, all right, I'm so focused on the next one, the next one, and the next one. But take time to appreciate it and celebrate those wins. What makes you happy? What gives you fulfillment?
I think it changes through ebbs and flows. I think in the very beginning, where it had scarcity mindsets and things to prove to the external world, like a lot of materialistic things brought me I wouldn't say like at the time gave me temporary like winds of joy and happiness and whatever. And then I think it was like a slingshot where it's like happy, 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 and then it slings back at you and you're like, why am I depressed? Because you get all these materialistic things, but then you realize like that again, you did it for the wrong reasons and you did it for, the external world, not for yourself. And then you just feel super depressed. So I think in the beginning phases, it was battling that and going through like ebbs of like really, really like high highs. And then like you have low lows of like, hey, I got this, thing to prove something to my dad or to my ex-girlfriend or to whatever, because I want them to feel a certain way around me, like about me, that I've grown, I've elevated, like, F you, whatever. And then that doesn't happen. And you're like, why am I like spending time and energy and like even like feeding this with my energy and putting energy into this? Let me just focus on what I want, right? I think disconnecting from the internal world and like really diving in deep to like know what it is that you want and getting clarity on that, and working towards those things makes me happy. I think what really makes me happy on a day to day is making progress. It doesn't matter what it's at, whether it's at the gym, seeing yourself gain, a little bit of strength, or hosting another event, or just working towards something meaningful. Making daily progress makes me happy. Like it's the pursuit, it's not the destination. I think it's in the act of doing something to better yourself, or better yourself, your future self, that you can find fulfillment and joy, not when you arrive. Because every time I like arrive at something and I have nothing to work towards, I kind of feel like depressed and unmotivated. And then when I have a new target, new goal, and can like start working towards something new, that's when I'm kind of like, gears are spinning. I'm, excited. I'm happy. And it doesn't mean that everything has to be like going well. There's like problems to solve. There's fires to put out. I'm like, makes me feel alive and makes me, feel happy. I think lately I've had a lot of appreciation for family and people close to me. I haven't had the opportunity to see like my dad, my mom, or like any siblings in like over a year and a half now in person. So like having that space to miss somebody so much, like just proves to me like how important family is and like close people to you. So like I think spending meaningful quality time with people you truly like care about really makes me happy. Making a meaningful impact in someone's life, whether it's giving somebody an opportunity, opening a door for somebody, not like physically opening a door, I guess. If it's a female opening a door, you feel, happy about yourself, but like giving somebody an opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have, makes me happy. Not like in a selfish way of like, oh, without me, you wouldn't have had this, but it's like really generally seeing like somebody, get an opportunity that is going to potentially change the course of their life. And like that's why I do the Tampa Entrepreneurs and events. And we honestly like start off as a nonprofit initially. We now have like a for-profit branch, but it was never about like, hey, we just want to like sell people things and shove things down people's throats. It was about building community. Because like after COVID, I was still running the online companies, and one day I just like woke up and like tears crying. I'm like, I'm spending all this time in online businesses. They're doing well. I'm making money, but like, why do I feel depressed? And I'm like, I miss this in-person connection, being around people. Like all I'm doing is sitting 12 hours a day, sitting at a computer, looking at a dashboard, looking at numbers move up and down. But like, I don't feel like I have a soul, And I was like, let me bring people together in person again. And the whole mission statement of Tampa Entrepreneurs of like, let's build a community of people not to just do business with, but to do life with, right? That's what we're about. And that makes me like super excited and happy. And reflecting back at like really meaningful, impactful moments for me, even like at NetCon at my LA event, I had a kid come up to me and he's like, hey, you really inspired me. I came to your previous event. I'm here at your like second event now. And I have a friend here. I'm not going to name his name, but I started talking to his friend, learning about his story. He was like, dude, I was in a very dark, deep, depressing phase of my life. Both like mentally, financially, like my girlfriend just left me, my grandma passed away, like had a lot of shit things happen, and he was hopeless. And it's like, dude, I had to sell furniture to buy tickets to attend your event. And honestly, after being here, you made me reconsider committing suicide. And for me, like I was like tearing up. I'm like, me as a 19-year-old, I can have this type of like impact and a ripple on a person. So I think it's just like impact, bro. It's like knowing that you have a positive, meaningful change, no matter how small or big it is, in someone else's life, like that makes me happy, and fulfilled. And I think lastly, as of recent, just having relationship with God is like big. I didn't grow up in a house with relationship with the Lord or religion like being a part of the home. That's something I've had to like find. And I think after getting everything I could have dreamed of the physical material world, I still like I realized like there's more to life than that. And that's what kind of put me on a pursuit to, obviously I have my own testimony we can talk about outside of the podcast, because I think we're running.
We're out of time.
125. So I have a call in 5 minutes. But
same.
I think lastly, to end off, God's a big, important foundation in my life now. And that makes me happy. So I'm like building that relationship. So
Bomb drop, man. What a good note to end on, and I relate with that a lot. Where I call it blissful discontentment, and I've been taking a much more conscious effort of just appreciating my blessings, because we're all so blessed. And when you're in that phase where too much uncertainty and stress and pressure, like, it leads to anxiety, and it leads to burnout. But if you don't have enough, it leads to unfulfillment and unhappiness. So having that perfect balance where you're challenging yourself, you're putting big goals in front of yourself, that's really where a lot of the reward of life comes from. And that's why you see a lot of people where you see you hear stories about, the most, like, oh, the most unhappy I was when I sold my company for $100 million. The most I felt unfulfilled. So just enjoying the journey on the way up is one thing it's a good reminder that I remind myself of often. Anyway, I could keep going for another 2 hours, but Simon, we're out of time. We're out of time, brother.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Jonah. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Appreciate you hopping on.